Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. I'm your host, W.J. Sheehan, author of the series of books, 38 volumes in paperback, ebook, Kindle, and audiobook, available at Amazon. And may I introduce you to my brother and co-host, KJ Sheehan. Kev, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Bill?
I had a little brain fart there.
I was like, where's he going?
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
I thought you needed the Royal Bugler for a minute.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you for the Royal Bugler. May I have a bugle fest? I love that stuff, Kev. You know, I'm actually reserving the Royal Bugle for a week or two in the future.
Wait, you just called on the Royal Bugler.
I did. It's a premature Royal Bugling. I wanted to make sure you were able to bugle still.
Oh, so now my bugling capabilities are in question? Or is it my bugling readiness?
Your bugling readiness. You have to be at the ready at all times when called upon. But I just want to tell the folks that Casey and I spent 2.5 hours last night setting up the financial end of the dealings with creating the merchandise that I'm going to be putting up. So we're inching ever closer, and now she's going to be loading our artwork onto the site that I'm using. And folks, we got some really cool stuff coming down the pipe. So get ready for that. Shirts, mugs, hat, different things. I'll probably do more as we go along, but we really, and folks, I put a lot of this stuff out there to people I know and trust right from the beginning to get as many opinions as I could about what I was doing. And what they felt was good, what they felt they couldn't stand, what changed, what needed to be changed, and we've really gone through the gambit here, Kev, with this merchandise to give a good representation of Bigfoot Terror in the Woods and some other things Bigfoot related. That I think
and creepiness related.
Oh yeah, man, folks, wait till you see the Get the Creep on, and you'll see I incorporated some of our catch lines like Get the Creep on, and always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. We've got a couple of magnetic bumper stickers or magnets that can be placed right on your truck, your vehicle. Some really nice graphics, front and back on the shirts. These shirts are not cheap, folks.
So you're going to charge a lot for them? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, every shirt will be at least $200 at the very No, they're not going to be cheap because I'm not going cheap. I don't do cheap.
You mean they're well made?
Yeah, exactly. And we have front and back artwork.
Multicolor.
Front and back on every shirt, different color combos, and that stuff comes at a cost. But I'm not putting out any garbage.
Plus, we have to pay those royalties to the black-eyed children.
Yeah, well, wait till you see the black-eyed children.
Because if you don't pay, we'll get our money one way or another.
That's right.
We'd actually prefer you don't pay.
Yeah, because
This way we can stop by and use your phone.
We might even take it out of your sorry ass.
Oh, what is that? You don't have a phone? Don't worry. We didn't really want to use it anyway.
Yeah, so I'm excited. We're probably, well, my best guesstimate is a couple of weeks out from announcing that you can have at it. And all of this stuff is going to be linked on our website, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. If you've been on there lately just to peek around, you see all of the books are neatly on there now with viable links to take you over to Amazon specifically to buy a book that you're looking for. The way Amazon had it set up was ridiculous, Kev. I mean, even me, the author, I'd go on there and there'd be one book listed, then you'd scroll, there was an audio book link, and you scroll. They were like all over the place.
Yeah.
And which to me was absurd, but, I don't run their show, I just write the books and record the books, But this is going to be very neat and concise on the website. You'll be able to click on shirt, hat, mugs, stickers, go right to where you need to be. Everything will be processed there, credit card, shipping, etc.
Bags of cash.
And believe me, folks, I do the best I can with all of this stuff. So I'm trying to do you right. And at the same time, a lot of people have been asking me through the many years, hey, Bill, how about a shirt? How about a hat? So I think you're going to be quite pleased with what I've put up. And like I say, there's something there for everybody, young, old. I think I know the ladies are going to like some of the stuff because I've showed some of this stuff to women just randomly. And the stuff that I kind of thought ladies would like in working in conjunction with Casey, sure enough, the women say, "Oh, I love that."
So you were walking down the street with like some Bigfoot photos and stuff and just walking up to women and saying, "Hey, what do you think?"
Well, Kev, I just walk up to women anyway. But by the way, folks, Kevin and I went to see Get the Lead Out last Saturday. And, Kev, you going to post that picture of me and you under the marquee?
I am. I thought you were going to get a shirt made up with us on it.
If I set up a shirt with me and you on it, people would use it probably to check the oil on their Ford.
By the way, I sent that picture to somebody I work with, and she said, "Are you standing next to somebody in the band?"
You should have said, "Yeah, I am standing next to somebody in the band, mother."
I said, "Yeah, kind of." And she was like, "I love that purple jacket he's wearing." So,
yeah,
there you go.
All the chickies over at the Paramount love that jacket, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what ZZ Top says, Kev?
What's that?
Every woman loves a sharp-dressed man.
Yeah, that was good. It was good.
Well, so what do we have in our cryptids in the news and other oddities today, bro?
Yes, we are going to go to the other oddities.
Okay.
And we're going to get some creep on. And we have talked about this creepy thing before, once before, but a while ago. And I've just been inspired to revisit this cryptid. The skinwalker.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the skinwalker. Not that I love the skinwalker, but
Be careful what you say you love, Bill,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
they can show up.
yeah. Well, listen, if a skinwalker shows up here, I'm going to jack him up.
You may need a special jack for the skinwalker.
I'll do my best. I got all kinds of equipment here at the ready. Let me tell you something, Kev. Somebody comes in this house uninvited. I'll give you a sampling. I've got a 3.5 foot long razor sharp samurai sword next to my bed. I've got a 12-inch Bowie knife in a sheath that you could shave with on my night table. I have a variety of other weaponry at the ready. So if you come through this door uninvited, it's going to be fast, it's going to be furious, and they're taking you away on a stretcher. So the skinwalker is going to get the same invite.
All right, well, that's pretty clear. So these skinwalkers, as you know, Bill, but maybe it's a little refresher, they come primarily out of the Navajo Native American culture. And, they have, of course, a lot of the Native Americans and definitely the Navajo have witches in their culture and medicine men. And, some of the witches are good and can cure people of things, like a medicine man, I think is believed to be a bit of a witch.
Yes.
Or at least leverage some of the darker crafts sometimes to help people. Mm-hmm. But the skinwalkers there's nothing positive about them according to the Navajo Nation. Like they are, as we would say, pure evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do they look like, Bill?
Well, a variety of things. I mean, some of them are downright creepy and like almost humanoid. But one of the things about the skinwalker is that they have the ability to basically shapeshift into animal forms.
Yeah, they are one of the best known shapeshifters.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest episodes, you remember on Skinwalker Ranch, do you remember the one where they were driving down the road and they saw one?
Yes, that was weird. It was like walking on the shoulder and turned his head to look at them. And when they spun around to come back, like, what the heck was that? Do I have it right?
That's the one, and it was gone. But they were also saying when they were meeting with the Navajo, and they were saying, well, if you see one way you can tell, if it's not immediately apparent, is that when they shapeshift, oftentimes, like if they shapeshift into a human form, which is the one you're talking about, their feet will still be like wolf or coyote paws.
Yeah, they've seen, even at Skinwalker Ranch, which is not the be-all, end-all, but, I mean, look at the name, Skinwalker Ranch. You think they've seen some of them there?
Yeah, and that's built right on the Ute.
That's right.
Part of the Ute and Navajo reservations there.
Yeah, now, and they have found large wolf prints.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have to be like a 600-pound dire wolf.
Exactly.
To leave. These aren't timber wolves. First of all, there's no timber wolves there. But even a timber wolf does not come close to the tracks that they have found.
Yep.
So, And once again, Kev, you have to fall back on the fact that when people find tracks, random tracks, a single track, maybe two, did somebody just decide they were going to walk around there and put down two bogus footprints that could be blown away in a windstorm and hope that somebody randomly walks upon them and discovers them as a goof?
Right.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
It's like putting a Bigfoot track down, one track. and maybe a couple of half tracks of crummy ones in the middle of freaking nowhere in the woods, like somebody's gonna walk up and we're gonna get a chuckle out of it. That just doesn't make sense.
Not likely.
No. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
you.
no, it's good. So these critters, cryptids, are shapeshifters, and they can take the form of various animals or humans. Some of the animals that they're known to take the shape of are bears and coyotes and wolves. And the Navajos say that sometimes the shape that they take is dependent on the traits that they wish to utilize. Mm-hmm. And they also often have powers, very strong powers, to influence others, invoke illness, and get this, Bill, or even reanimate the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So, the height of creep.
Yeah, I mean, reanimate the dead.
Yeah.
And Kev, when you look at some of the pictures of skinwalkers, that people have taken of these individuals, that the costuming, the presentation, I mean, everything is just evil looking. It just exudes evil. There's nothing good about it.
Yeah.
It's like an intimidating kind of in-your-face creep fest to just really kind of overwhelm the people like, we are powerful or something to that effect. They're trying to put on the image of like, fear us,
100%. And by the way, the Navajo often won't even talk about skinwalkers. Like it's such an evil thing that they won't talk about it even amongst themselves, and certainly with someone outside of the nation.
Right. And you have to think about, just consider that for a minute. Why would you not talk about it if things did not happen to people in the past that did? So that's just like a generational thing where it's passed along. Well, Uncle Louie, after he was talking about the skinwalker, one appeared to him and clawed him in the face or something.
That's exactly it. Part of the lore is that if you talk about them, it could possibly invoke them to be present.
Right. Which really, it brings you back to things like anything demonic related. For instance, we've talked about playing with a Ouija board.
Yep.
You play with a Ouija board and think that there's nothing going on there. But you're actually opening up a doorway. And for some people, depending how weak or strong they are spiritually, the devil is going to take advantage of the weakest before anybody else. And he will enter in, or entities may enter in through that invocation or invitation. And the same thing seems to go on with the skinwalker. Make no doubt about it, folks. The skinwalker is some type of demonic evil entity. There's no doubt about it. And if they're dealing with human beings, you see those guys dancing around with the evil masks on and everything. They are definitely invoking and inviting something bad into their own lives and your lives.
100%. And, I mentioned that the Navajo will often not mention or not discuss the skinwalker. They also now, there's some like taboos against wearing furs and stuff like that, because, that's sometimes how the skinwalker appears, when it appears in a human-like, not a full human form. Mm-hmm. It often has like a fur and like a coyote or wolf head on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just talk about getting your creep on. I mean, the skinwalker emulates creep.
Absolutely.
What else you got on it?
That's about it, Bill.
Yeah. To be continued. And folks, if you're regionally out there by Skinwalker,
or in the Navajo Nation.
Yeah, get in touch with me. We're always reaching out to people. And although people do reach out to me, folks, too far and few between for my liking. I know there's a lot of people listening that have and can share information or know people that would share information about a variety of different things. And we always invite you to contact us at BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. Hit the contact button. Let me know who you are, where you are, and get in touch with me, because this show is not about me and Kevin. It's about me and Kevin and all of you. Without the audience, we don't have a show. And without speaking to people, I don't have any books. So think about it like that. And,
just like Bill said, contact us on BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. Contact us, and we'll keep it anonymous, too. So we're not going to say your name and, give away your location. So, there's nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have something cool here. And I know my friend Rich out in Washington, hey, Rich, is going to listen to this podcast. And Rich, when you hear this, Rich is building a house in Idaho, beautiful pole barn that he's building from scratch, making it into a retirement home. Rich, when you hear this, I want you to tell me in our next conversation if this is where you live or going to live. So this evidential find was reported to me by Carl Hedstrom, a resident of the state of Idaho. And this is what Carl had to share with me. As you know, Bill, I have seen another Bigfoot in this area. But the sighting happened so quickly and briefly that there's not much to say. This bugger crossed between two pine trees in a 6-foot opening, and it was over in maybe 2 or 3 seconds, if that, at the time. However, what happened on this hunt was incredible. St. Joe is in the northern panhandle area of Idaho, and access to it is generally much more straightforward than other wilderness areas. The elk hunting is also robust. On this day, my buddy Fred and I had driven into an area where we had planned to hike a ridgeline for a bull. At least, that was the plan when we began the day. We had hiked up to this thickly timbered ridgeline. Give me 2 seconds here. Spending the rest of the morning up until about noon, having had no success, when we decided to descend from the ridge back down into the valley below. We were not in the valley for 10 minutes when a bull came out of the trees at 75 yards, and Freddie nailed him through the lungs, dropping him where he stood. We could not believe the incredible stroke of luck we had walked into, but that's hunting. With plenty of time left in the day, we began to quarter the bull for packing it out back to the truck. 2 of the 4 packs were already set up for the hike when we heard the howl coming from the ridgeline we had just descended from a short time earlier, and it was screaming loud. Freddie looked at me, and I had him at him, both knowing what it was, and I said, "Let's finish up quick. We have a long hike and must return for the other 2 quarters." So we finished the work and left, leaving the other 2 packs strung in a tree on a rope. The hike out and back took an hour and a half. And on the way back, we both agreed about being watched or feeling we were being watched. That's all I can say. There was a lot of tree cover here for anything to be on the prowl, and we were on high alert as we neared the pack's location. Now, it's always my practice, as well as many other hunters, I would presume, that when you are coming back in for packed fresh meat, to sit outside of the zone and look for any predatory activity regarding the bloody meat and the butchering site. You don't want to walk in on anything unexpected or by surprise. So we were sitting where the packs were, not yet visible to us, but we knew we were very close. And that's when we heard a loud crack. It was a very calm day, and the crack just felt out of place. So we watched and waited. We were no more than 50 yards from the site, having heard this crack, sounding like a dead limb snapping. After about 15 minutes and seeing nothing, we began to stalk closer with our heads on a swivel and our rifles ready. I came into the small clearing ahead of Fred, looking directly at what I was sure was the tree we had hung them in, and they were not there. At least that's how it appeared on first blush. As we drew nearer, the limb they were tied to was on the ground in the brush with one of the packs, and the other pack was missing, including the rope used to tie it up. It was a half-inch Dacron rope from an old sailboat mast rigging, which was very strong and durable. The other pack and rope was still attached to the limb lying on the ground. Freddie said to me, "It's that friggin' Bigfoot that we heard earlier up on the ridge," both of us knowing what we had heard. This thing had pulled the pack down, including the rope, snapping the entire branch off the tree in the process, which was the snap we had heard only minutes earlier. Fred pulled the branch away from the rope while I held the pack, and there were deep impressions of the beast everywhere. This area in the valley is a soft, loamy kind of soil, perfect for the imprints to be left in. Trust me when I tell you that if he had been struggling with it, thrashing the limb about, we would have heard it, but we didn't. This Dacron would not break easily, and anyone who knows what I'm saying also knows that it's true. The limb was fresh, about 3 inches in diameter, snapped cleanly directly from the tree's trunk. So much for Bigfoot being intelligent, incapable of untying or recognizing what was a simple knot. Either that, or he didn't give a crap and just tore it down. We took that pack, got out of there, and it was over. I know many people regionally who have seen this critter in St. Joe and Clearwater that you will never hear a peep out of, or they just do not care about it. I really cannot say what that whole thing is about. But if you think about it, I would have not called you, Bill, or anyone else about my first sighting, not giving a crap myself whether I did or did not. There you have it, Kev.
Whoa, yeah, northern Idaho, hotbed up there.
Yeah, and Rich, like I say, I'm not sure if Rich is... I never asked him where in Idaho he really was. So, Rich, I know you're listening. Next time we talk, let me know if you're in that Panhandle area or that St. Joe National Forest area. Now, Kev, I got one more short one I want to bring to the audience.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Bill, that I used to live in eastern Washington and used to spend a fair amount of time up there in the St. Joe Forest. So
what
that place is grizzly central, and certainly, could have the hairy man walking around.
Oh, listen, anything that can support a large predator like a grizzly can certainly support Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And lots of other places as well. But as far as, grizzlies being an omnivore and Bigfoot being the same, it seems to be reasonable that, both would be there. What is the forest like over there in the St. Joe, Kev?
Yeah, a lot of tall pines, big trees.
Undergrowth?
Some undergrowth, yeah. But pretty mature forest.
Okay. And other kinds of wildlife in there, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and lakes and, streams and just wildlife everywhere.
Well, let me dive into this one. This is from my home turf, Kev, New York. And Tim O'Brien, a Pottersville, New York resident, reported the following sighting to me. And this sighting had occurred several years before one that I had previously reported in the Pepperbox Wilderness, which is near to where Tim has his sighting. The two of them actually had occurred only miles away, and this is what Tim had to say. In 2016, Bill, I was hiking one of my favorite nature trails in the northwest corner of the Blue Ridge Wilderness area. This trail is between Raquette and Sagamore Lakes, a very woodsy area indeed. And I had hiked a dozen times or more in that area, which I was very familiar with. I'm a day hiker, which put quite simply is nothing more than this. I hike a certain distance on any given day until I can comfortably have enough stamina and daylight left to get back out. I'm not looking to impress anybody with my abilities. I'm out to enjoy the woods and exercise. So this was just another day in my routine, a Saturday in 2016. The day was gorgeous. I was not fond of foul or inclement weather when hiking. Missing 3 toes on my right foot from birth and wearing custom-made boots and shoes for my entire life. So I was approaching a curvature in the forest where the trail was narrowing just ahead of me when a skinny tree came snapping across the path. You'll have to trust me in that there was no reason that this sapling would come down like a whip across the path at that time. It looked like a jockey's whip on a thoroughbred during a race. Naturally, I stopped to both look and listen, and I heard and saw nothing, so I stood my ground. Only those who have found themselves in strange situations, give me 2 seconds here, can appreciate what I'm about to say to you. I was not prepared for what had happened, having never experienced anything such as this beforehand, it catching me entirely off guard. If it was meant to shock me, it did, as I stood quietly and waited for what I did not know. About 30 seconds later, I heard a series of whistles coming from 2, possibly 3 different locations, none of which sounded far away. And I said, "Hello." When I did so, the whistles ended. Or should I just say, no more whistling occurred after I said hello. Then I began to feel the unnerving sensation that eyes were staring at me, and yet I had seen nothing. Beginning to feel very uncomfortable, I started to retreat on the trail as something or someone began to run through the woods on both sides of me quickly and noisily. Whatever they were sounded heavy on the forest floor, not trying to be stealthy at all with their movements. Both sounded like they were darting ahead of me and stopping suddenly, now silent in the trees. I knew of no critters that behaved this way in this region, thinking it may be some wacky teenagers playing some type of goof on me or even worse. So I kept moving, having no protection other than a 4-foot-long walking stick that I used regularly. I thought I might be in the clear as the minutes rolled by, Nothing had occurred for, as I say, about 15 minutes or so when the whooping began. I had heard nothing moving about in the trees for, as I say, about 15 minutes, when what sounded like a war party erupted around me. A combination of these whoops and whistles, some of the whistles sounded like that of a human being, while others were more like an off-key kind of screech, something that is very hard for me to describe in words. While this was happening, I thought I would lose my mind. You can't even begin to conceive what this was like for me, and it was about to get worse. Just ahead of where I was, perhaps less than 50 feet, I saw a large creature step across the trail from my right-hand side to the left, taking one giant step to cross what was about a 6-foot wide gap, and it was gone. I have noises coming from both sides of me, and now a Bigfoot has just crossed the trail ahead of me, and I'm thinking I'm a dead man, like a mouse being toyed with by a cat before the final bite takes its life, if you will. I was trapped, hemmed in, and that's when I heard the howl. This howl came from far away, but it bellowed throughout the forest, unmistakable to the ears, loud and resonant, following which I heard whatever was around me scatter, and I started to run as best as I could. When I say run in my terms, it was a run, but not like a healthy man or a woman would. Missing 3 toes and having modified boots, I still have some trouble running, as you would call it, but I was going as fast as I could and frightened half to death. At some point, I had stopped. My lame foot was so sore at that point, I was limping and in great pain, having irritated myself with this whole ordeal. After the fact, I wondered if perhaps these were the young ones, and if Mama Bigfoot had called them back with the howl. It also reminded me of a video I had seen out of Africa, where a young cheetah was toying with a small gazelle, having not killed it right off the bat, but rather was playing with it for about 20 minutes, allowing it to think it could get away, and then jumping on it, knocking it to the ground again and again. Perhaps they were toying with the disabled human, having other plans in mind for me when they had finished their fun and games. The Bigfoot that had crossed the trail was about 7 feet tall and somewhat slender compared to other descriptions I've heard. At the time, I thought they were real, but could not entirely accept it. But after that experience, everything changed for obvious reasons. When it crossed the trail, the legs were capable of an extensive split. They were extended virtually straight in the middle of the step, just like a gymnast going into a split. Very odd looking, but I remember it. How could you ever forget it? However, when I say slender, do not mistake me. This creature was all business regarding being a muscular animal, having thick and tawny legs and arms, capable, I am sure, of bullying anything it wanted to. And that's my account. What do you think of that, Kev?
That is pretty wild, Bill. This gymnast leap.
Just kind of like one big sprawl. I'm picturing this thing like kind of extending its legs like a little joink, and going into the woods,
Yeah.
But obviously, it and whatever else was with it knew this dude was there, because they weren't hiding or trying to be invisible to this guy. He said they were making a lot of noise, whooping, whistling, screeching, all of this stuff, stomping in the forest. And then all of a sudden, this one just goes like, let me screw with him a little more, and jumps across the trail, Well, I think all's well that ends well for this guy, because who knows? Who knows what could happen?
Yeah, I mean, pretty close encounter. He's lucky to walk away and talk about it, right?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
And I don't know, man. We all like to think we're Superman. We're going to rescue the fair maiden, but I don't
really think of myself that way.
But if you're in tight quarters, man, you just got to be ready to fight as best as you can to the death, if it may be, because
100%. Yeah.
You're not going to be given a second chance. So that's it, Kev. 2 freaking outrageous accounts.
2 great accounts, and getting a creep on with the skinwalker.
Yeah. Now, the skinwalker is so freaking creepy, man. I mean, really, folks, if you live out there, if you're an indigenous person, a Navajo, Ute, if you have anything really to share about that, please, please, please get in touch with me, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. So what do we have, Kevin, our listener mail today?
Good stuff. Well, we are running a little long today, so I am going to do one mail that came in, but it's a good one, and it requires us both to interact with the mail.
Okay.
All right, Bill. So Chris in Spokane, home of the Palouse, the most fertile land for growing wheat in at least the United States, they used to tell me when I lived there, is writing in. And he writes, "Hi, WJ and KJ. The question is actually for the both of you. What is your favorite cryptids television show, and why is it your favorite? Keep up the creep, Chris."
Well, you want me to go ahead first with this, Kev?
Yeah, you go first.
I have a couple, right? I mean, I love the search for Skinwalker. And that's a whole bag of tricks in itself. But when you're just talking about a cryptid individually, it's Expedition Bigfoot by far. Because I really think that, there's some dramatization in there, but I'm not on board with those who think it's all malarkey and fake. Because we have plenty of that going on in the world of Bigfoot anyway. There are a lot of people out there, naysayers, who think everything we talk about is a line of hokum and nothing more, But I think these people are applying excellent science, good methodology. I think they are on to things. I think they have made some great discoveries. And Expedition Bigfoot by far is the best I've seen relative to Bigfoot. So that would be my favorite. What about you, Kev?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, hands down, it's Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And not just because my friend Travis is shooting rockets everywhere. No, but seriously, it is my favorite. And I think probably because I'm, a bit of a science person myself. And so I love just the plethora of data that's collected in that show. It's kind of nonstop. Like, here's the experiment we're going to run. Here's the control. And if we see this, then we know this. And then they do it. And it, it's just jam packed. So I love that. And, but I don't know in particular what cryptid that show is about, right? Because it's got skinwalkers. That's the whole legend initially. Mm-hmm. And then it's more and more about some type of portal into another world, perhaps. So, but I love it because of the science. There's just so much data there.
Yeah, and you notice with that show, Kevin, I like you, am enthralled with that show. But out of their own mouths, time and time again, what does this all mean?
Right.
They keep piling on the data and they keep getting corroborating data streams, evidence. But what does it all mean? What is it leading to? So much.
The infamous, so therefore,
Yeah. I
I don't know.
Just crazy ass stuff. Like, remember the night they were shooting those high powered lasers into the sky and the beam was stopped at like the 2-mile mark?
Yeah, there's like an object there.
Like, what stops a laser beam shooting in the middle of the sky?
No, and then the various investigations with LiDAR and everything else where it looks like a black hole.
Yeah, so many things that just are really unanswerable.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and I'm not saying like I did a scientific or statistical study of the show, but it's kind of like a lot of data and very little dramatization.
Yeah, no, they're not dramatizing anything as far as I'm concerned. That is all live experimentation being viewed by the audience.
Exactly.
And I think they said that at one time. We're basically just sharing with you what we're doing here in the form of a television show.
Exactly.
And they have the little meetings, which is typical, informative, gathering of the minds, an update, here and there of what's been achieved, what's going on, commentary. And that's just normal human existence, right?
Absolutely.
If you and I were doing it, we'd be having conversations about what happened yesterday or last night also. It's just normal.
Yep.
And no, 2 good shows, man. 2 really good shows. The Search
great stuff, Bill. Another great podcast here. And folks, again, please write in at Bigfoot Terror in the Woods. Contact us, share your experience, or even if you just want to say hi. We love hearing from you.
Mm-hmm. And remember, folks, if you should find yourself in the St. Joe National Forest, or anywhere else for that matter, hiking, wandering about, you best remember one thing, my friends. Always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. Sleep tight.